When you look at the Rwanda proposal to sort out our problem with asylum seekers crossing the channel, it's quite clear it didn't work back in the day when the plane was waiting to ferry 47 people to Rwanda, and it hasn't worked if you take the longer view. The longer view is that actually this year we're going to end up with more asylum seekers coming to our shores rather than less. So Priti Patel's propaganda about Rwanda has actually backfired. Now, we haven't even got to the point where there's been a proper legal review. I assume that legal review will conclude, as I do, that we have a responsibility under the convention we signed in 1951, that we should not be outsourcing the processing of asylum seekers, that if somebody comes to our country asking for asylum, they should be properly examined and processed here. There is no such thing as an illegal asylum seeker, an illegal migrant in that sense. If somebody comes to our country and asks for asylum, they are legal until we reject them, until we say that we have processed their case and they have no case. At that point, they might become illegal if they don't leave our country. But until that point, it doesn't matter how they get here. If they apply for asylum, they must be considered. That's the convention. And to outsource it to Rwanda or Turkey or wherever we want to outsource it in the wild reaches of Priti Patel's imagination is simply wrong. And I know that it's endorsed by some of the candidates for Prime Minister. They're wrong as well. And I hope eventually they will be proven wrong legally. In the meantime, let's look at the facts. 14,000 people so far have come over have come over the channel. 442 in July so far this month, and 60,000 are expected. Apparently it's scaremongering which has driven up the numbers. Those numbers, 28,000 last year, 60,000 this year, it beggars belief. 6,000 intercepted by the French. Now let's look at the other bit about our ability to process these people. 125,000 asylum applications are currently outstanding. Apparently it takes 449 days for a decision to be reached, 550 for an unaccompanied child. Meanwhile, 13,000 asylum seekers are languishing in hotels at £4.7 million a day. There's 64,000 asylum seekers in asylum accommodation. The report says there's no silver bullet. Well, there is a silver bullet. That silver bullet is very simple. We have to employ more people in the Home Office so that we can actually do the job that we undertook in 1951 to do. We should be spending less money on Rwanda and France and more money on employing our own people to do the work that we have undertaken to do. If we cannot do that work, then we need to renegotiate that treaty. But until that treaty is renegotiated internationally, we have a responsibility. And actually, I don't believe that we have any grounds for saying that we can't actually uphold our responsibility or that we should be renegotiating that treaty. That treaty seems to me to be entirely sound. Our present attitude is the stuff which is unsound. And if we look at the number of refugees that we take in comparison with the refugees taken by France or Germany or so on, we are the ones who look rather unsympathetic. We have a duty. And more than that, we have a country which has been built on the backs of so many immigrants who have brought so much goodness to our land and to our culture.